The Haunting of Hollyridge. Chapter 1. A Silent Night. I stood on the cracked driveway, gazing up at the weathered Victorian house I hadn't seen since childhood. Hollyridge, my family's once warm haven, now loomed before me like a skeletal guardian of memories, both cherished and forgotten. 10 years had passed since I'd left these walls, leaving behind the ghosts of my youth to find solace in city life. Now, on this frigid Christmas Eve, an unexpected inheritance brought me back, a bequest from my recently deceased grandmother's estate. The old house itself. My palms were clammy as I clutched the key, its weight heavier than expected. The chill seeping through my gloves reminded me of the biting cold winter nights spent by the fireplace with her stories and hot cocoa. Upon entering, the musty air wrapped around me like a long but abandoned lover. Shadows danced across walls that bore witness to laughter and tears, painting a mosaic I had almost forgotten. In every corner, I expected Grandma's specter, but she was gone, leaving behind only echoes of the past. The house remained as it was, unchanged yet altered. Each step creaked with the weight of history. My heart pounded against my rib cage as I made my way through the silence, taking stock of each room. In the living room, a faded photograph caught my eye. Me, giggling under a spruce tree, surrounded by a family long since scattered across the country. A pang of nostalgia tugged at me before I tucked it away in a pocket. The familiar smell of wood smoke and dust filled my lungs as I walked through the hallways that once held warmth, now tinged with decay. The first night passed uneventfully, save for the unsettling creaks and groans, which I attributed to settling old bones. But morning brought an unusual chill, a frost on my window pane, despite the room radiating warmth. As I sipped coffee at the kitchen table, shadows shifted near the corner of my vision. A fleeting glimpse, perhaps, my imagination playing tricks in the dappled light cast by the blinds. The day was quiet and cold outside as I tackled the attic's dusty relics, sorting through trunks filled with love letters, faded photographs, and yellowed newspapers. Underneath an unopened trunk, a note in Grandma's scrawl read, "Lila, uncover our secrets." Secrets? What mysteries had I missed? As dusk fell, icy whispers began to dance at the edge of hearing. A soft hush that sent shivers down my spine when it turned into a low, raspy voice whispering my name. My pulse raced as I spun around, yet there was no one. Outside, an owl hooted its haunting melody. The second day unfolded with the surreal calm of a dream. The creaking floorboards and muffled voices receded into background noise. However, darkness brought new noises. Footsteps in the hallways when I knew I was alone, the unmistakable clink of dishes from the kitchen, though no hands moved them. Each night, they escalated, a door opening, closing, a shadow darting at the edge of my vision. My mind must be playing tricks, but it seemed Hollyridge was awakening from hibernation. I couldn't shake an unsettling feeling something watched me. Fumbling with a flashlight in the darkness, I stumbled upon Grandma's journal tucked away in a trunk. Her handwriting spoke of whispers and unseen eyes, of the whisperer, a ghostly entity that dwelled within these walls. As I read on, a floorboard cracked behind me. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to behold a dark silhouette leaning against the doorframe, faceless and still as stone. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Dark. As I delved into Grandma's writings, night fell, casting an eerie glow through the grimy windows. Shadows coalesced. I could have sworn they moved of their own accord. My heart raced as I read about the whispers intensifying, voices speaking in hushed tones, pleading for silence. The diary spoke of my parents, whispering secrets under moonlight on the porch when I was a child. Secrets that haunted them until one fateful night. A newspaper clipping dated to a decade ago caught my eye. Hollyridge family murder, suicide rocks community. My hands trembled as realization dawned. My mother had taken her life, and my father, unable to bear the loss, followed suit. The room seemed to shrink as I processed this revelation, the diary slipping from trembling fingers. In that instant, whispers turned to screams, demanding attention. Shadows converged at the corner of the room, taking on a form both human and animal-like. Twisted, grotesque faces watching me with hollow eyes. They inched closer with each beat of my erratic heart. In the stillness, I found the courage to explore every crevice. The basement door creaked as it opened by itself, revealing a small room filled with old photographs and a trunk adorned with rusted locks. After years of dust gathering on these relics, now they seemed to hum with an unsettling energy. I removed each photograph, exposing the faces of my ancestors, their smiles twisted into macabre grins. A final photograph showed my parents, laughing under that very porch where whispers held their fateful conversation. As sunlight faded, the diary fell open by itself, revealing a final entry dated Christmas Eve. The voices will consume us all. My imagination's veil thinned. What was I facing? The house seemed to hold its breath as I read on, my mind spinning with questions. Night brought an onslaught of unearthly whispers. Lila, find me. An eerie laughter that echoed up the stairs. Shadows crept closer still. Their faces began to solidify into grotesque human visages. A child's wails mixed with raspy voices speaking in tandem, beckoning me downward. Chapter 3. The Echoes of Hollyridge. Desperation fueled my search for answers as I descended into the dank basement. Whispering grew louder, urging me toward an old trunk bound with rusted locks and chains. My trembling hands undid them to find a leather, bound book, The Elders of Hollyridge. Inside were accounts of an ancient cult that met here, performing dark rituals under the full moon. The room's air chilled further as I read on, heart racing. With every page turned, the whispers grew louder, demanding my presence. A final entry spoke of a ritual gone awry, driving away evil entities and sealing them inside with chains. It was then that a voice boomed in my mind, Lila. In the gloom, something emerged from the darkness. A grotesque amalgamation of faces, their voices blending into a cacophony demanding I release the elders. Unhinged by what I read, I found the chains and wrestled them off with shaking hands. The room shrank to only shadows and me as the whispers intensified. A door materialized at the far end, the entrance to the cult's ritual chamber. Steeling myself, I walked toward it. Candles flickered to life within, casting an ethereal glow. At the threshold lay a chain binding a mannequin in chains, eyes alight with an otherworldly glow. It spoke, "Release us." With trembling hands, I freed the elders. A gust of wind whipped through the room as chains clanged, rattling against stone walls. Whispers died. My world went silent. Candles sputtered out. As I turned to flee, A figure cloaked in shadows stood in the opening. My mother's image. Lila, she whispered before disappearing into darkness. Dad, another voice called from behind me. Turning, I beheld them too, eyes black as coal, their faces contorted with pain and longing. They spoke of the elders, bound by their own guilt over a ritual gone wrong. Together we broke the final chains, freeing them at last. As they vanished into smoke, the house seemed to breathe in relief. Whispers dissipated. Sunlight crept through grimy windows as the mannequin's glow faded. I stood among relics of their cult, an old book that spoke of binding darkness. Chains rattled one final time before falling still, each relic laid bare for discovery. The cult's secrets were my burden now. A note etched in crimson on a wall echoed Grandma's words. The whisperer would claim peace. I chose mercy over revenge, and let dawn wash over the chamber as the last of their evil dissipated to ash. Stepping out into daylight, I vowed to tell the truth about the elders. Leaving behind the book and horrors within these walls, I walked toward a new day. My own peace. Chains rattled one final time before clattering to stone, the mannequin standing sentinel as the door closed itself.